You are listening to Live Free with Rebecca Packard. With this podcast, Rebecca will help spiritual entrepreneurs and mompreneurs experience emotional freedom so that they can create calm and balance in all areas of their life. If you're ready to release your emotional baggage, trauma, and that constant feeling of overwhelm, then you are in the right place. Your journey starts now. Here's your host, Rebecca Packard.
Welcome back. It's Rebecca Packard, and it is a fantastic day. I hope you guys are all having a great day, and thank you for tuning in and listening today. I am really excited, you guys. I don't know if you saw in the emails that I shared that I was on a summit recently, and today we have Natasha Senkovick with us, who hosted that summit and talked all about how we bring intuition into life, into business. She had some incredible speakers in that space. Natasha is a really amazing person. If you don't know who she is, you guys find her on social media. We're going to give you the links to that all later. But we're going to talk about some really fun things because she's hosted a summit. She runs her own intuitive business, and she had a documentary in 2006. She released a documentary, Belly Dancers of Cairo, and it won awards, you guys. So if you haven't seen that, go check that out too. We are really excited to have you here today. Hi, Natasha.
Hi. It is super exciting. So happy to connect with you again.
Yeah, it's been a minute. We've been such busy, but you've been doing so many things. I'm really excited that you were able to tune in today and be here to share with the audience about, you are all the things in the space of it. We have a lot of mompreneurs here. We have a lot of intuitives. We have a lot of holistic entrepreneurs that are utilizing their different skills in their businesses. And you kind of do all those things. You tick all the boxes, don't you? And so I just love that you're going to be here sharing how you keep your sanity in that space too.
Okay,
can't it? But first, I want you to just, for those who haven't met you, who weren't at the summit, and who don't know you, that might be tuning in for the first time, just give an introduction, introduce yourself, tell us about yourself.
Okay. So I started out as a belly dancer. I'm sure you kind of got the clue with like the documentary Belly Dancers of Cairo. Like, yeah. So I was, and I still am kind of, once a belly dancer, always a belly dancer kind of thing. But I was, professional. I was dancing weekends in groups and dance troupes, all that stuff. And then I became a Pilates instructor, then a yogi, sort of like really working through the body. During that journey, right? And you can ask me later on whatever you want to know more about, but I'll just kind of skim over. I discovered that there was such a strong connection between certain yoga postures and certain things and healing, right? And I think it was always in me. I was always really fascinated with healing, but being a performer, it wasn't my priority unless, I needed to heal myself at something. Oh, I'll just figure out these herbs or whatever. So it was all about the stage and, and looking good and keeping my weight down. Like you guys kind of know where I'm coming from. But in dealing with clients later on in my career, when I was taking on private clients for yoga and Pilates and sort of transitioning in that career space, I discovered that certain like balance postures help people regain their connection to the earth, right? Their root chakra was greatly activated, and I could get them to decrease like their psych meds, right? Like, and if they were dealing with depression or some kind of something that was making them not want to stay on the planet, that was really compromising their life force and their joy of experience of being alive, that certain postures really heal that. So that was kind of my little door opening, little peep into what's possible. And I found myself really fascinated by this and kind of going, oh, I can play around with this. Oh, and if I set the intention, it's stronger. And then through a tragedy in my own personal life, right, through a loss of a family member, I started studying energy healing on a really major scale in a like sort of an all out, like last ditch effort to save my family member. This was my sister. I would have never invested that much time, energy, and effort into energy healing and the study thereof if I wasn't really squeezed by this tragedy in my life. And then a whole world opened up to me, right? Whole world opened up to me. And it was what I didn't realize, like the side benefit of funneling that divine energy in a strong desire to heal somebody else. And then, then I would volunteer at all the free clinics. I would learn from anybody. I would like drive, like, can you help me heal my sister? Kind of, that was my whole objective. It was a major cleansing process for me. So the person that I was prior to that process to the person I was after that process was totally different. Like,
Yeah.
told all that junk in my space, all that sort of self-interested behavior, and like I don't blame myself. Like it's hard to kind of navigate this reality. You got to kind of, especially in a competitive space like performing and all that, right? So, but what I'm saying is it was a whole different world for me, whole different perspective, whole different me, whole different relationships after that process. And then I kind of just found myself like building a practice and enjoying it and like really having deep joy in seeing the transformations happen for other people because I understood what was happening in people's energetic space. I know, did I just sort of like give you the sort of windy road? Did it make sense?
No,
Like,
it's good because I think a lot of people find themselves. I have a lot of clients who say, "Oh, I'm not living my life journey. I'm not doing my life work." And I said, "No, but you're picking up the pieces to train you to get ready for that space." And so you are sharing that you too, like I, have gone on that journey. Like, yeah, you went into belly dancing and you were like, "I'm gonna be a belly dancer. I love this. This is fantastic. This is like my life right now." And it's in the moment. You're in the moment. You're gonna be in that space. When I was an EMT, that was my life. Everything revolved around that space.
yeah,
But when we came to that spot in life that was like that moment where you were like, there's gotta be something different. There's gotta be another way. And you went, "Oh, wait, hold on." But you were already being given the little droplets. Here's a little breadcrumb, go to Pilates. Here's a little breadcrumb, go to yoga. We're going to slowly ease you into opening your mind to these things and getting your body into the movements that help you to move your energy and align your chakras and cleanse your aura and do all the things and align you with your divine energy. We're not going to drop the boot yet, but it's coming. Wait. And then you wake up one day and you're like, "I need something different." And you had that moment. I had that moment. And you went, "Okay, time to shift tracks. I've been getting all of these little practice spaces. I've been getting this foundational knowledge." And then you went, "Okay, let's boots on the moon. We're going. Like, I need more." And then you were like, "Let me take in the information. Let me take in what I can practice. Let me take in what I can acclimate to my life and change what the world looks like around me so I can live happier, so I can help people, so I can show up for my family." And a lot of people are sitting in that space of, "I'm a little confused right now. I don't want to know necessarily what's going on around me," because a lot of people in the past 2 years, especially, have had that door kind of open for them. They were at their home, so they were like, "Well, I'm going to put YouTube Pilates on. I'm going to put YouTube yoga on, or I'm going to sign up for this app, or I'm going to sign up for that app." And they're like, "Well, I really hate my desk job. And all I'm doing is sitting at my desk in my house by myself now." And they're looking for what's their next thing, or what is their thing, or what is something that can help them. And like, your story is a beautiful representation of like how all of life kind of gives you those steps.
yes,
It gives you, as long as you're open to receiving those messages, as long as you're open to moving through those lessons, as long as you're open to taking in the next lesson and taking in the next lesson and taking in the next lesson, you'll keep moving forward. So no, it wasn't a windy, crazy road, but all of our lives are windy, crazy roads, you guys. It's not just like, here's the outline, 1, 2, 3. Like, it doesn't work like that. That's not life. It's more like chutes and ladders, like whoop, whoop. You're over
yeah,
here, you're over there, you go up this ladder, you fall down that slide.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. Then you get pushed. You're like, I'm just doing my anything. No, 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 I don't want anything that's like too dramatic or painful. Then it's like boom.
Whoop. Exactly. So no, I
Yeah.
love that you shared it the way that you did. Um, and that's the other thing is like it didn't happen overnight for you. This was an evolution. A lot of people want that one pill fix all overnight salvation or overnight surrender, overnight whatever. That's not reality. That's not how life works. You're creating and accumulating baggage, and we're constantly either deciding we want to get rid of it or we are becoming hoarders with it. Like and so it was that space where you decided like I'm cleaning out, I'm going to Marie Kondo my life, here we go, right?
Well, it wasn't even like that. I mean, you got to realize I was a very difficult case. I wasn't really even entertaining those thoughts of like, oh, I just want to, it was more like, um, I wanted a greater visibility in my space of performing, right? Everything was kind of geared towards that. I wanted greater comfort and quality of life and expansion. I wanted, like to show, like, yeah, look, I'm here now, you naysayers. That was kind of my thing. So it wasn't, and I remember going to like a very well-known astrologer in Los Angeles, and he was like all the rage and really great guy and like deep man. And I remember getting the astrology thing, and he was just looking at my chart and going, oh, and he says, oh, you're a late bloomer. I swear. And I'm like, what? Right. So it was definitely, I got clues along the way that I was kind of not really, catching up to speed to on the path. Right. And I think dreams also tell you that, all those dreams where you're kind of like late for your test and somebody's like saying, oh, didn't you know you're supposed to pass this test and you're in high school? And then you're like, no, I didn't know. Oh, well, you're late now. You're going to
Nobody
flunk.
gave me the memo.
Right, right. All those dreams, that's your higher self saying, come on now, it's almost 5 to midnight kind of a thing. So all that was happening for me. I was not really probably following my contracted plan.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
and it was really fascinating how they navigated me. In retrospect, it's really clear. You're like, oh, but I needed I needed that big, huge, dramatic push. Otherwise, I'd never be here, right? It would be a totally different journey. I'd be a totally different person. So just to, kind of like to all those that feel like they're sort of struggling or resisting, you're not the only one, right? The journey is different for all of us, and some of us really need that push off the cliff.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I call mine the bitch slap from the universe. Because it was like, you're done, squash. You
Right.
physically cannot do your job any longer. Time for a new one. And like a lot of people woke up a year ago and their business had gone. The where they had shown up for 15 years, they closed the doors and put a sign on or whatever. Like it's different for everyone, but you are getting little tidbits in the way that you can absorb them, in the way that you can take them in. Because you are like, I'm going to be on the stage, I'm going to be great. And you were like, I'm going to use my intuition. I'm going to strengthen that audience connection with an affirmation, with a conscious thought. Because the universe was like, this is how we can talk to her, you guys. Look, this is her love language right now. Let's use it to our advantage. And so listen to those little whispers. Listen to those little breadcrumbs. Think of yourself like E.T. and the Reese's Pieces. Piece of candy, piece of candy. We've been given that little piece of candy where things are happening, and it's not gonna, you're not gonna stand above it and go, oh, look, there's the map. Like that's not life. But you always have an option. You always have a choice. There's always a door opening for you. It's just whether you're choosing, okay, I want this one or I want that one. So what are some of the tools that you're using today to use your intuition to choose which door is the right door for you? I mean, you've done some really amazing things in your life, but you just hosted a summit, like, and you've done a few of summits, but like that's not something you wake up one day and go, oh, I think I'll just host a summit. Like you do and you don't, right? But at the same time, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of different things that play into that. There's the behind the scenes that people, it's kind of like the swan song, right? On the top, you're like this beautiful swan and you're on the river. And underneath, you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And so there's a lot to that. So what in you are you using to be like, oh, hey, this is the next piece of candy for me?
How do I recognize the breadcrumb?
Yeah.
So there's a couple, yeah. So I'm going to break down the question a little bit. So there's a couple of things. One is like the tools, right? How do you keep yourself sane when you take on a big, gigantuous project that's like stressful, right? Like, I mean, and most people's lives are, some people that have 3 kids and a full-time job, that's already, they have like, you know, I do it during the summit time. They do it all the time. So yeah, that's like a huge piece. And another one is like, how do you even make that decision, right? Like to sort of take on something like this and know that you can do it. For me, it's like, and I think it manifests differently, but for me, it's like this lighting up of joy, right? This lighting up of joy that I'm like super excited about it. It's, and I can't think about anything else. It's like, oh, and I see it like that. Oh, this is going to be so good. And let's try this. And so that's kind of my huge light, right? That's like my huge, when the road sort of lights up. Then what I do is I have developed, and this is a whole nother, I'm going to be touching all these things. So if you have any questions, if it seems like kind of foggy, you're like, what are you talking about? Just let me know. Because sometimes when you do something regularly, you think everybody gets it, right? And people don't, right? You're like, don't you get it? I do it every day.
I do that all the time.
Yeah, no.
That's so normal to me.
Yeah, right. Yeah, totally. So I use a couple of tools. One, I have these like sheets that I do, and I do angel committee teams because I've realized that right now we have so much, and we've always had it, but now there's even increased numbers of angelic help, divine help available. They know we're under pressure. They know we're like squeezed. So there's even more of them available, but they can't jump in and push in, right? You have to ask. And there's something happening right now in the universe, like, or in our reality, where we're being asked to step up and not only, well, I'm just a miserable human, help, which was that was my method prior to this, right? Like most of my life, when things were really gnarly, then I would just like yell and cajole and plead, and whereas now it's like, no, that doesn't work anymore. Now you have to kind of like pull yourself up. So you got to meet your angels halfway and say, okay, what exactly do I need help with, right? And then I break it down. If I need to make a decision, so that's step one. If I'm having this thoughts that are recurring in my mind and it's kind of like resonating with joy in me, is this the right decision? Because I know that this is going to take me into a long and arduous and path that I'm going to have to put up a lot of work. So I'm going to write it on a piece of paper or a notebook. I don't have to it doesn't have to be ceremony. You don't have to do a whole dance and chants and whatever. Just you write it out so your thoughts are clear. Angels, I need help to make this decision. Can you send someone? Can you light my path if this is the right path for me? Can you open it up for me? And then let it go, right? Then detach. Trust that it's been received, right? And then the answers will come, sometimes in very subtle ways. Like you'll start getting emails, or somebody will in conversation will be like, oh, I always loved your summits. That's what happened, right? That was my answer. Like some clients of mine that have been with me for a long time would go, I just love the way you do interviews. It always like makes a difference for me. And I was like, those were my answers, right? And then you got to acknowledge, and you can't just be like, okay, great. Then you got to go back to that. Thanks. You got to thank your angel, the ones that you've asked and sent him on this path or gave him that job. You got to acknowledge that. Thank you. I see the answer. Really appreciate you, right? Because they're not, you're not writing checks to them. They need something too, right? So that was like part of my path, right? The second one is I knew, because I had a bit of resistance I was fighting, like, because there's just a lot of even initial, it's almost like, big pushing a big boulder up the hill, right? To do these things. It's like the initial kickstart is trying. So I was like, okay, I'm going to delegate this. So I thought and then again, I asked my angels, bring the right person to me. that will help me start this project or set me on my path or make it easier because I'm just feeling kind of like a resistance and getting it going. And then one of my clients, this beautiful like girl, like mom, entrepreneur in New Zealand, I was telling her about the project and she was like, and I just felt like she wants to help me. And I said, do you want to help me? She goes, oh my God, I was thinking that, but I was kind of embarrassed, but I'd love to help you. I love this work. Do you guys see now the synchronicities? Like, so this is not just me like asking once and one and done and then like complaining, right? Like, how come you guys didn't just make the whole project for me, right? This was like me taking every step and acknowledging, taking another step forward, asking for help with that, and then acknowledging when it's received. So that made a difference. So this, wonderful client, former client, stepped in, did all the first couple hundred mailings for me to get my first batch of yeses for my summit like people. Do you know like so you are helped. Basically, you're not on your own. It's not like this whole rock you got to carry. There is way to do it, but you got to ask properly, and you just got to again identify what you need, write it down. That's my process, because I don't want to like keep it all in my head. I'll forget. So because I want to be able to acknowledge and thank the angel that I asked and received the help for, and then move on, right, to the next step. So it's very step by step. Now, the second question, if I may proceed with this, is you ask like, how do I keep myself sane, or how to like, because this is challenging, right? Because we all like people tend to think sometimes when you're in a position of like, oh, I have this whole business built around business intuition and helping people build businesses, helping people remove blocks. And, I'm just like sitting on my mount now, right? Just chanting and there's flowers falling around me.
Like doves.
Yeah. There's a harp playing somewhere just to the right, like, no. The thing is, I'm still like really challenged a lot of times because I'm the same person, I'm the same person that like falls into my same patterns. So what do I do? And I'm going to give a couple of tools. One is super brain yoga. So you got to match. So what happens when we lock up, our brain hemisphere is kind of like, it's almost like you freeze up, and then the frontal brain cortex starts overfiring. And how does that manifest? You kind of like, I name my situations. One is like the groundhog, right? You kind of come up and then you freak yourself out and you dig yourself back into the hole, right? Like, then the other one is how it manifests for me and my clients is the Rip Van Winkle. That's when you hit it like you go drinking with the fairies and then you are like gone. And then it's 3 months later and you're like, what happened to my project?
I don't know why it didn't work.
Yeah, you just kind of went like totally comatose, right? You just resisted, procrastinated in time, like, and I've seen that. And again, I'm guilty of this too. So there's several ways this kind of like brain thing manifests. So, and this is going to be hard to demonstrate, but basically, you've got to do, this is an old yogi method, and I know I have earrings on, so you probably don't want to have earrings on, but you take your left hand, and you grip grip your right earlobe with the thumb out, and you squeeze the earlobe, just a little, not like death grip, but just so you feel the little bit of pressure. Then you take the right, and it goes over, and then you do the same, right? So remember, left to right, right to left. Then you take your tongue, the tip of your tongue, and you connect it to the roof of your mouth, your palate. What that does is it kind of turns on the electrical circuits in the body. It's like this, like sort of a quickening, right? This, because your body works on electrical stuff. So this is kind of takes the whole two brain hemispheres and connects them. Then keeping that, right? So imagine I'm going to still talk, but imagine that I did that. You're going to go stand face east. That's this, because there's certain directions that have certain energy circuits, like, or so, and you go into kind of like open up, like your feet are like this, you're in a turnout, shoulder width apart.
And so you're like duck feet, guys.
Duck feet. Yeah, duck feet. Just a little, like, because the reason you're going to squat, like doing this, you're going to inhale, squat down, like exhale, stand back up. Inhale, squat down, almost like where you're sort of in that malasana, or that squatting position in yoga, where your pelvis is like below the knees, almost to your heels. and then inhale down, exhale up. So what that does, to break it down, it's almost like another way you could do this probably through yoga nidra. You're starting to blend those, brain hemispheres, and they sort of, those other circuits that have been kind of compromised light up again and balance out. You take the energy that got stuck in the lower chakras, and you help the body transmute it and drive it up, so you have food and balance in your higher chakras. What that does, you begin to remember things quicker. It lights up the brain. So it basically clairvoyantly observed, after doing this exercise, your brain is lit up in a healthy way, not like overstimulated, but just healthy, not like you're, and you have your clarity of mind, you articulate things better. You're not just kind of like, I can't remember, you're able to like translate what's in your mind to your lips in a very, in a way people can understand. You connect better, you're more relaxed, you grasp concepts better, that kind of thing, right? So really, really useful. If you are a senior citizen, right? If you are maybe over 65, I mean, there's a very young 65-year-olds, right? But if you're kind of getting to the point where you're senior, then I would be advisable to face north instead of east when you're doing that, because it drives more like life force energy. But it would be too much for somebody younger, because like that's too much stimulation. Right. So that's tool number one. I know. Did everybody get that? And you can always
ask in the notes. We'll put it in the notes.
Yeah. And there's like a whole, and I think there's even YouTube videos. You could even Google, like, people have made like really good YouTube videos, super brain yoga, and you can like access it, where people are demonstrating it. Right. And the second thing I do is I do a meditation. It's called the Twin Hearts meditation. And it's basically, it just clears it. It's miraculous. It's truly miraculous. If you do it regularly, it will just help you clear that junk around your field. It will give you, it makes like, it's a night and day difference for me if I consistently doing that meditation. There is a few caveats, just so disclaimers. If you do this meditation, let's say some of your listeners are like, oh my God, I'm going to try this, and I'm going to do super brain yoga, and then I'm going to do twin hearts every day. I'm going to do it every day, and I see the difference. Your energy can get congested through this, so you do need to exercise or move your body before and after twin hearts. It's powerful, super strong meditation. It can congest your body. And if you're a person that eats a lot of pork or catfish, that's clairvoyantly observed, those meats or those foods are a little dirtier. So again, if you're working on moving a lot of spiritual energy through, and then you're like, oh, but I like to have my bacon every morning and pork rinds, and then my fish tacos with lots of catfish, and I put a little extra bacon, right? It's going to congest you. You're going to start to feel like nauseous, right? You can't underestimate like the power of these energies. They're very strong.
Yeah, I think that's necessary to say, because I think some people will try that. So like, yeah, heed the warning. Yes.
And then of course you can ask, both of us work with removing those excess like energy. So if you're like, I need a good Kickstarter, you got Peeps, right? Yeah. That can move that for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. That's fantastic. In the space of, like, I know you had said like, oh yeah, everyone thinks you just sit on a mountaintop and it's sunshine and rainbows and there's doves and like, and you utilize these different tools to keep your balance and keep your focus. You also are running your business, you're running your relationship, you have your life, you have all these other things. What is something that you're doing for self-care? Besides like the yoga or the meditations, like what does simple self-care look like for you, Natasha?
Simple. There you got me with that word. I'm like, do I do anything simple? I don't know. I know that's a tough one, because well, I love and I love taking myself out for fancy cappuccinos. That's kind of one of my things, and I think it has to do with I'm Croatian originally. You can see by the last name. It's like, Senkovich. You're like, where's that from? Croatia. So if you go to Croatia ever, it's absolutely beautiful. It lives up to the hype. But one thing that you will see predominantly, all over the seacoast and the resorts and big cities, there's like cafes everywhere. You can't throw a rock without like hitting somebody in a cafe, right? Like not that I want you to do that, or a pebble. Can't throw a pebble without hitting a cafe chair or something. Anyway, because people, we love to do that. We will sit in cafes for hours, and there's like a slew of fancy coffee drinks, delicious cakes. It is part of our culture. So hence it's kind of like in me, right? And I really love that. And if there's a cafe around with like potted flowers, hey, really beautiful vibe, people, if they do like really good cappuccinos, you'll probably find me there. And to the point where like people will know me. They'll see my car and they'll be like, oh, it's Natasha, get her cappuccino, one shot with, semi-dry. That's kind of how maybe too much information that nobody really needs to know. But basically that's my like treat thing that I do. And I just love it. I sit down and like, oh my God, my corner table's available. And I'm going to plug into the cafe internet. And then, oh, here comes, Cindy. She's bringing me my cappuccino with a smile. That's like a joy for me, right? That's like one of my joys. It's very simple, $5 for a cappuccino, but it's like super, I feel so wealthy. It's such a wealthy, rich experience for me.
Right. Well, and it fills you up. Like everything
Yes.
about it is like it's touching all your senses because you're in your space, there's community, you're warm inside, you're feeling your energy, you're feeling your culture, you're in a space of bliss. Like that's bliss.
It's
And
kind
so yeah, it's perfect because it's also accessible to those who are not like who might be listening going, yeah, no, I'm not squatting doing anything right now. Like, but
yeah.
how else can I access that? And it might not have the same exact effect, which it won't, but it will help them to find a space, to find a way to care for yourself outside of the space of the doing. A lot of people slowed way down over the last 2 years. And in the last 4 to 6 months, I'm hearing a lot from different people, clients, podcasters, just the general people that I interact with, of the push to get busy again. And you guys, you don't have to. Plug little things like this into your day. Maybe today you do some brain yoga. Maybe tomorrow you go for a lovely cup of coffee. Maybe the day after that you take a nice walk in a park. Do these little things to not wind back up into hurriedness, because the slowdown was put in place for one reason, but all of us were able to recalibrate and go, oh, wow, yeah, no, I didn't like being busy all the time. I don't like having to rush and be busy and chaotic. These are little tidbits that can help you to reshape that habit, right? We're creatures of habit. So just plugging these little things in can help us reform those habits and break old patterns, old cycles of that need. So I love that. I love the fancy coffee. I'm somebody who every morning I have my coffee, which is actually now it's not even like coffee because it's like a scoop of coffee and a scoop of this stuff that my husband's like, we should drink this. And I'm like, okay, chicory root. Yeah. So it's like
Okay. Yeah.
and I'm like, fantastic, with my coconut oil, but I always eat my oatmeal out of a really lovely teacup. I don't know why, I just do. I like it in a teacup. But like, it's something that brings me joy every day. So where are the little things that you too can plug in? Like, that bring you joy, that bring you happiness, that just light you up, that give you that warm feeling, like Natasha's talking about, like just sitting down and going, oh, here's the lady, Cindy. She knows me. She knows exactly what I want. She knows exactly what I like. It's going to bring it to me. It's going to be lovely. Or maybe you sit down in your house and you make that happen in your space if you aren't somewhere you can go out. Because I know that some of you have said, well, I don't live in a city. We don't actually have a coffee shop in my town. I'm like, well, sad for you. But we'll ask the angels to bring you one.
Yes.
right? We'll manifest that for you, but like also replicate it in your own house. Like maybe you get a fancy creamer that week or something outside the box, right? But all lovely things. Yeah, I do love a fancy. I'm so excited that the warm weather is coming because I like to sit outside and have a lovely
Oh
coffee.
my goodness. These tables, and I like what you said, and kind of the beauty, right? Like create like a space of beauty, whether that's, and because it's just like you're worth the beautiful space. So even if it's little things like flowers or like a nice potted plant or everything's kind of organized, so you feel good. You're like, oh, and like little pictures and things like that. It's just, beautiful coffee cup. Like, look, I always make sure that it's like something very lovely that I feel very, rich doing, drinking out of it.
Energetically, like it fills you up, right?
Yes,
Well,
yes.
because some of you were listening going, well, I don't really know what that means. Well, it's that coffee mug that you grab every single day. You have 20 of them because let's be realistic. We all have,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, we all feel the need to buy new ones. However, we always reach for the same one. Never fails. Buy a new one. We're still going to reach for the other one.
Same
We're going
cup.
to, every single time, we're going to reach for that one cup. So it's that one cup. Like, what is it about that one cup? And then find different ways to replicate that feeling in other areas, in other spaces, at your desk, in your living room, in your bedroom, even in your bathroom, you guys, even in your bathroom. Like, do you like have that when you touch your towels, when you dry yourself off? Like, does it light you up? It should, because the more that you're filling your space with that, the more that you're having that conversation, the more that your intuition is activated, the more that you're in alignment, the more that your root chakra is engaged, your solar plexus engaged, your sacral chakra is engaged, your limiting beliefs are at a zilch. No one's talking in your head because you're feeling good, right? So everything is flowing. See where we're going with that? Like it's a whole thing when we dot these throughout our house. And I'm going to guess you have all these different like dots in your house too, where you're like, oh, I look out this way and I see like a beautiful wind chime or a crystal or
Oh,
something that brings me
wow.
joy.
Oh my God. Yeah, great. I mean, I have a beautiful curtain. I put beautiful things in my office. It's like all surrounded by beautiful things. And then I put in, okay, I bought a bird feeder that's like clear and it has like those little sticky things, those little suction cups at the back. And I put it against my thing. Put bird feed, like I bought like top-notch bird seeds. And so I look at it and I have beautiful, right? Like just looking right here where my eye line is, cardinals, bluebirds, they come in and it brings me joy. I get so happy because I see them like doing stuff and the male feeding the female cardinal. I see the couple and I saw like, I mean, we raised the whole family. There's like kids that now come.
When you have them for long enough, you're like, oh, look, the second hatchings come out. The second
I know, we become like these like, so there's so many little things.
yeah. 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 I love that. I love that. So yeah, it's like, where can you bring those things into your everyday life and the everyday areas of your home that you're in regularly so you can have those little bursts of bliss.
Yeah.
Bursts of bliss, you guys.
I love
Life
it.
with bursts of bliss,
Oh,
right? I love it. I love it. So we've had quite a chat. We've covered a lot of things here. I am really excited. We're going to be sharing the notes. Don't forget to check out our blog. It's going to have a little bit of the behind the scenes. But I always ask this to everyone. If we were to hop off now in 10 minutes, you'd be like, oh, I wish I had said this. What would be that thing for you to share with
oh God. Oh my God, I think. Oh, there's so much. Oh yes, there is something that just popped in. Okay. So I feel like one of the things that I'm hearing a lot from people, right, especially with um, sensitive people. So I'm sure the people that follow you are sensitive people, people that are healers, intuitives, or just kind of part-time healers, intuitives. And so what's happening now, there's such a cloud of anxiety, right, coming at us. A lot of people are vibrating anxiety, uncertainty, fear of future, sort of, we all know, right? So it's super, super important to do whatever you can do to keep your energetic space clean. I call it energetic hygiene, and not to skimp on it because it'll catch up with you. You will just You'll be like, oh, I'm fine. I'm just going to take care of the other people in my life. I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm going to take care of the other people. And then suddenly, boom, you're sad, you're burdened, you're worried, and then it's harder to climb out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is, and I know that people that follow you, I'm sure you give them a lot of beautiful tools. Pick your tool, go to your angels, ask them like, let me know which tool is like best for me. Highlight that somehow, bring it to my attention, and then just do it. Just do it as like as you would take a shower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And we have shared that shower cleansing meditation. So like that's also a beautiful place to do your energetic protection. And I love that you say that because it's such a necessary conversation these days. For a long time, energetic protection was taught as a fear-based thing. Energetic protection is not about fear, it's about hygiene. You just spent 2 years washing your hands and wearing a mask so that you didn't get contaminated or contaminate other people. Think of energetic protection the same way, okay? And we've been having that rewrite, we've been having that open conversation. I know I've received some emails from people about, well, isn't energetic protection fear-based? I was always taught I can vibe above that. Yeah, fine, fantastic. If that's how you want to roll that way. I'll see you when it catches up and the vibe just can't stay above the vortex, because right now our intuition, our conscious creation, our conscious connectedness is at the highest it has been in centuries. We are so connected. We have internet, social media, we have all these different things. Everybody's walking around with a cell phone in their pocket. We're actively using our intuition and our connected space, and we are working in the space of our energy bodies, all of them. A lot of people are like, they're not just talking about chakras anymore or auras. We are all acknowledging that there's so much more,
Yeah.
right? And so just thinking of your energetic protection as a regular daily practice, because those of us who, like Natasha and I, have gone into this, we've been doing this for years. If we didn't utilize energetic protection in between our sessions from one person to the other, it would be like a doctor going into the operating room, operating on one person, and then walking into the other room without washing their hands.
Yeah.
Like, we have to start thinking about it that way. It has nothing to do with fear. It's about being ethical. It's about being respectful. It's about showing up fully. It's about having self-respect along with the respect of our clients and the people that we're around. And it has a lot more to do with, once we shift out of that space of people thinking that it's a fear-based space, and the more and more people take that on, the less and less you'll see these cycles of humanity repeating themselves, because people are being triggered in ways they don't need to be triggered anymore. People be having different conversations instead of having the same conversation that's been being had for 300 years. Like,
Yes.
it will shift so many different things. So like, as we always talk about, fantastic, wash your hands, wash your clothes. You wouldn't go out in dirty clothes. Don't go out in dirty energy, right?
Yeah. And one last thing, if I may.
Yeah, go.
You
Yeah.
mentioned there was one of the questions just about maintaining relationships. So as you clear your space, right? Because all these things that are implanted, like in thought forms and clouds in our energetic space, you see better and your relationships improve tremendously. And it just happens naturally. It's almost like the same, because in a relationship, like your partner, your mother, whoever you're having kind of this dance with, like it's almost like this pattern. They do this and you do that. They do this, you do that, and then all of a sudden you're cleared, and then you respond differently, and then that person responds differently, and it's a whole different pattern that's established. So long story short, as you heal yourself, the healing ripples out to the people that are close to you. They benefit tremendously.
Yeah. Guys, it goes right back to that ripple in the lake. You throw a rock in the lake and it ripples out. That's what happens. You start with yourself, you start on the inside, you work your way out, and it just, everything shifts. So that's fantastic. It's been so great having you here, you guys. We're going to be putting all the links of how to connect with Natasha in the notes, where you can find her on Facebook, how you can connect with her through the summits that she's hosted. We'll even find the link for her belly dancing documentary, because I know that some of you are like, I need to see this, because it's such a popular thing right now. I'm noticing that belly dancing has made such a comeback lately, where people are like really into doing it in their living rooms, because they were like, oh, I'm not really feeling the yoga, but they are really feeling connecting with their feminine energy through belly dancing, which aren't you looking into maybe sharing a course in that in the future? I thought we had a conversation. Was that true, or was that in my brain? That you are looking in the next year to maybe put together a course where you're connecting with women and belly dancing and divine feminine energy?
That would be actually a great retreat. That would be a great retreat, maybe a course, but it's such a energetic exchange. It's such a sisterhood thing. It would really be a beautiful retreat. So if you get enough people, if they're like, hey, I want to do, this beautiful.
Yeah, I know somebody had talked to me about that. So I was like, was that you? But I know that at any rate, I know belly dancing has become such a go-to thing for people in their living room right now. And I'm like, yeah, that's fun. I would do that too.
It is. It's so good. It is really good. It's good on all different levels of grounding, of all those lower chakras like that, especially your sacral, kind of really settling in there, moving it, healing it. It's great cardio, because you don't realize how much you really work at this, how much you sweat doing belly dancing. You think it's just someone just kind of, they're just sort of floating, and no, they're smiling through some serious effort, right? Like
to hold your body in some of those positions and like move the rest of your body in a way that you're like, wait, hold on, this part's still and that part's moving.
Yeah. Very healing too, very healing, because you're learning how to isolate your muscles, and it's like really, for women, it's the best exercise ever. It just ticks a lot of boxes. So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything in the works, honestly. Like I can't say that, but if there's enough people that want it, I'll create something.
Okay. Well, you guys have heard her. If enough of you want it, then she will create something. Well, we'll be reaching out then. Fantastic. This has been a lovely conversation. Guys, thanks so much for tuning in, sharing this space with us. And like I said, we'll be putting all the links in the notes. And don't forget, we'll also add the blog, but we'll also have a behind the scenes in the blog to follow. And we will see you again next
Thank you
week.
so much for listening to today's episode. And we want to hook you up because you're a loyal podcast listener. So head on over to www.rebeccapackard.com to get a special introductory price when you sign up for an emotion code session. Head on over to our website at www.rebeccapackard.com.